I've just made a track in 20 minutes and I'm going to play it in my DJ set as soon as this plane lands. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Now, first of all, I want to point out this is not a masterpiece. I don't make every track in 20 minutes. I'm just trying to show you how simple it is for me to make the type of edits that I'm playing in my set every week. So I downloaded this a cappella. Lady, hear me tonight. And I was just playing around, trying to write some cool chords to go with it. I don't really know that much about music theory, so I'm just trying to find the notes that sound like they're in tune with the vocal. Lady, hear me, lady, hear me, lady. That one's good. Hear me, lady. Once you find the root note, you can go a few steps up, and that'll all sound nice. Lady, from there, I managed to write these chords. Lady, hear me tonight, 'cause my feeling is just so right. And that just loops over and over. From then, I thought I need to write some sort of hooky synth that's going to make the dance floor get excited. So I wrote this. It's kind of like a woo moment. It also works really well at the same time as the piano. So from there, I've got my breakdown with the vocals, the piano, and then the big synth comes in. The next thing I need to make is the drop. So I found a kick drum. Pretty simple kick drum, quite long. And then I wrote a bass line on that same note that I started the piano chords on, which is the A sharp. Bass line goes like this. And you can hear I've kind of copied the synth pattern in my bass line. I've used a preset for this of a rumbled techno synth that I've used in a couple of tracks before. I find when I'm trying to make tracks really fast, presets really help because it just allows me to get a good sound without spending hours. So I've grouped the kick and the bass together. If I play them together, you'll hear it's already got a pretty solid groove. One thing that's important here is to side chain the bass. So you can see from looking at this waveform analyzer that the kick drum is half a beat long. I don't want the bass to overflow or overlap into that half a beat because the kick drum needs to have all the space. So I'm going to use this shaper box to carve out that space so that every time the kick drum hits, there's no bass. The next thing I needed for the drop was drums. Now, I have literally used 2 splice loops for the drums. That's it. The first one is this. It's like a ride and a hi-hat. The next one is this. And I just scrolled through some loop packs and found ones that sounded like they grooved together and ones that grooved along with the kick and bass pattern. That's super important. If I play all these together, you're going to get sick groove. I've added one more sound into the drums, and that is this. And the requirement for that, the reason I felt the need to put that in is so that it doesn't feel like the track's stuck in a loop. Like you need a little bit of variation in the groove so it doesn't sound like the CDJ is broken. Now I've got all of these key parts. The next thing I'm going to do is build it into some sort of structure. So what I've done with this vocal, for the first time, I've kind of looped the last word, almost how I would in a DJ set if I was doing a transition. From then, I've used automation to increase the reverb, so it sounds like it's getting washed out. I'm also adjusting the EQ with the automation at the same time. If you watch this EQ8 in the bottom corner, you'll see the EQ curve is just getting a little bit higher. So overall, the vocal just feels like it's disappearing. At the same time as that's happening, the same thing's happening on this piano. I've added a flanger and I've added reverb. And I'm taking all the bass out again, just like I did on the vocal. Now, at the same time as this is happening, on the synth, I've added reverb and I've also increased the release time of the synth. So listen to this. So the synth evolves towards the drop. One more thing I've added in the build-up is the snare. And I've used the frequency of the filter and sustain to make it feel like it gets bigger. Stock white noise as well. And that's everything right there in the drop. So at this point, I'm going to play you what this sounds like. Lady, hear me tonight, 'cause my feeling is just so right as we dance by the moonlight. Can't
Can't you see? You're my delight. Lady, I just feel like I won't get you out of my mind. I feel love for the first time, and I know that it's true. I can tell by the look in your eyes.
And that is the majority of what there is to it. After this point, I added a few more sounds. I added this. Just goes along in the background to change in between sections. And this is quite interesting because I made this with a sound that I found on Splice. And then I just played the pattern from the lead synth. I just played that on this, just to make it really fast, and then I turned on Shaperbox 3, went through some presets until I found this stutter, reverb, reverse, and then listened to that. It's just a great detail sound to go in the track. I've then used something else from a sample pack here, and that's to fill the space in the breakdown. Again, sample pack filling space in the breakdown. As the breakdown comes in, I've increased the reverb on the drums, so the drums go like this, and then they end up like this. So I'm using this Tal reverb, which is actually a free plugin, really sick reverb. And you can change the dry and the wet levels independently. So you'll see the wet level goes from all the way down here and then all the way up here. And at the same time, I've taken the gain down. So the whole track sounds like it gets reverbed away until it's just gone. Just before I bounce this out, I made a bit more of a structure. I put a little intro in, and then went into a sort of first breakdown.
It's true, I can tell by the look in your eyes.
So that's just how I'm going to mix into the track when I play it later in my DJ set. Finally, what is on the master chain? One plugin. I use this volume shaper just to check the waveforms because I love looking at waveforms. But we can turn that off and it sounds exactly the same. I've got this plugin called the God Particle, and I only got it a few weeks ago. The developer actually reached out to me and gave it to me for free, so I tried it and I really like it. And then I've just adjusted the limiter until it's as loud as I want it. And really I'm just telling how loud it is by looking at the waveform. So at this point I'm going to export the track, put it into Recordbox, check that the waveform looks exactly how it should, and then I'm going to go and test it. So we're about to land in Portugal. Let's test this track out.
Lady, I just feel like I won't get you out of my mind. I feel love for the first time, and I know that it's true. I can tell by the look in your eyes.